Hi guys. In my previous video, I showed you how to install cPanel and WHM on CentOS. In this video, I'm going to show you how to access and configure WHM for the first time. If you missed the installation video, you can follow the link on screen now. To access Web Host Manager, or WHM for short, open your favorite web browser and type the server IP followed by :2086, which specifies the port. You type this in your URL bar, then press enter. Your browser will automatically redirect you to the HTTPS URL and change the port to 2087, which is for SSL. Your browser will most likely give you a warning stating that the URL is insecure. This is because the SSL certificate is self-signed. You can simply add an exception or click Proceed to continue. You will now see the WHM login screen. You need to log in with your root username and your server root password. Once logged in, the first thing you will see is the agreement, which you will have to agree to. Click I agree and proceed to step 2. On step 2, you first need to complete the server contact email address field. I recommend that you use an external email address like Gmail. The reason for this is that any problem on the server will be sent to this email address. If you use an email address that was hosted on this server and something went wrong, you may not receive the notification. I will complete this with a dummy address for the demonstration. Next, you need to enter the server hostname. Ensure that this is a valid, fully qualified domain name. For example, server1.techbylooney.com or demo.yourdomain.com. Eventually, you will link the IP address with this hostname by creating an A record, which I will explain more in future videos. I'll make mine demo.techbylooney.com. You now need to enter your DNS resolvers. Resolvers are very important and you need to ensure that the ones you are using are reliable. Your data center will normally provide you with the resolvers. Confirm with them if you are unsure. For this demonstration, we will use the Google resolvers, which are already completed. Finally, you need to select your main network device. This will normally be the default network card on your server, which is connected to the internet. In this case, we are using a virtual server with only one interface, so we will leave this as is. Now, click Save and go to step 3. Step 3 of the setup is optional. You can skip this step and use the default settings. If you add more than one IP address to add to the server, you can add them here. For this demonstration, let's skip this step and use the default settings. Step 4 is where you will configure your name servers. In most production environments, you would have external name servers. In such cases, you can disable the local name server. If you are going to use this server as a name server as well, I recommend using bind, as this is the most commonly used and stable name server. For this demonstration, we will leave the name server on bind. Next, you need to specify the default name servers which new accounts on the server will use. The name server specified here has to be valid, active name servers linked to an IP if you are going to offer a DNS service. If you are going to use another provider for DNS, you can leave this as default or enter generic name servers, as you will simply point the A records of the domain to your server IP via your DNS provider. If you are unsure, it is best to check with a specialist before proceeding. In this case, we'll just use some generic name servers. Finally, if you are using valid name servers, you need to select the Add A entries for all name servers option. and enter the IP address for each name server. In our case, we are using generic name servers for the demonstration, so we'll leave this area blank. You also need to select the Add A Entries for Hostname option. The IP for the entry will be the IP address of your server. Once done, you can click the Save and go to Step 5 option. Step 5 allows you to configure your FTP, mail, and brute force settings. The first thing you need to select is your FTP server. Pure FTP is the default. It's a very good FTP server, so you can leave this as is. Under mail configuration, we select Dovecot. You can either select if you're more familiar with Courier, or you can disable the mail server if you're not going to run mail off this server. In this case, we'll just leave it on Dovecot. The Configure cPHulk Brute Force Protection option is highly recommended. You can leave this on Enable cPHulk. For now, we'll leave everything else as default. Finally, I like to always install the common set of Perl modules. This will be explained in later videos. Once done, click on Save and go to Step 6. Step 6 is the final step of our initial setup. It is for file system quotas. We will use file system quotas on almost all production servers, as this will track the usage of each individual account. Once you're done, you can click Finish Setup Wizard. You will now see the Feature Showcase screen. For this demonstration, we will leave everything as default, as we will come back to all these settings in future videos. So just click Save Settings. You will now be redirected to the WHM home screen. That's it for now. In the next video, we will go through some of the more common settings in WHM, as well as configure some basic security on the server. Cheers until then.